When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and I have a big treat for you today. Miss Christelle Biiga is with us, and she is going to be sharing all about her story, and you are going to want to stay tuned to this one. She has some amazing stories to share and a great message on finding courage in not only our businesses, but in everything we do. But before we get to her amazing story, I would like to thank our sponsors for today's show. Hey Taxi. Hey Taxi empowers and educates female entrepreneurs who are growing their businesses online. Their Empowered CEO membership is for you if you are a female entrepreneur who is ready and fully committed in taking action to run a successful, profitable business and ready to scale quickly. You need strategic support from experienced business peers who can partner to develop action plans and provide access to focused business training and go-to tools covering all the areas of running a business online, which includes finance, taxes, sales, marketing, and mindset. They are all about the 4 pillars, which is keep more money, make more money, believe more money, and access more money. So they invite you to take the Empowered CEO survey today to identify the gaps and gold stars in your current business strategy and structure. And you can do that at www.surveymonkey.com/r/Swiss cheese survey. I highly recommend you go over and take that and figure out where your business is sinking. All right, everyone. Now we're back to the show, and I get to introduce this amazing guest that we have today. And I said her name was Christelle Biiga. And Christelle is a former corporate executive turned inspirational speaker, TV host, and empowerment coach. Christelle left Africa to pursue her American dream. She barely spoke English and knew no one here in the United States. Her dream almost turned into a nightmare when an immigration officer tried to deport her because she was coming back, or said he said she was coming back to work as a prostitute. She was put in detention for 9 months before being released. She is now a successful entrepreneur that has been featured in numerous magazines and podcasts. Her coaching activates entrepreneurs' power to achieve mind-blowing results in the easiest and fastest way possible through courage. Hey, Christelle, welcome to the show.
Hi, Colleen. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I want to go all the way back. You had a dream, the American dream, to leave Africa. How old were you and why did you decide to leave?
Okay, it was in 2015. So let me do the math. Okay, how old was I? I'm born in 1983. That's how, 28?
Yeah. That sounds
okay,
about right.
I think I got it right. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. You were 28 years old and you decided to come here to pursue a career, to get a job. What were you thinking you wanted to do when what was the American dream from Africa coming here?
Yes, I wasn't coming really to get a job because back home I was already doing businesses. I had a small company that was doing event planning and providing event staff, for companies that had events and all of that. So I was already an entrepreneur even back there. And I was also doing some TV, some radio. So the American dream for me really wasn't, go get a job and make a little bit of money. It was bigger than that because I was sold into the story that anyone can be anything in the United States. So I said,
It's still true.
I know. So I wanted more. I have always seen myself as somebody who is supposed to impact people in, around the world. And I didn't really know exactly what that would look like. But I knew one thing, the best way on the planet where at least I could give it a shot is the United States.
Yeah.
It made 0 sense at the time for me to move here. I have a sister in Canada. I have brothers in France. So it made more sense for me to go there, But again, I felt the call to come to the United States.
Yeah.
And that's, yes.
How many siblings do you have, Christelle?
I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay.
Yes,
Good
I'm
to
the
know.
last born, but I'm not a diva, okay?
Yeah, I'm a baby. I'm not a diva either, girls. So I'm the baby of my family. I totally understand. So talk to the listeners a little bit about what leaps were you taking in your event planning company that you had launched in Africa. What were some of the areas that you remember needing courage or taking a leap during the time that you were building that event planning company?
I had to really step into things that I didn't know. Everything that I've done really, when I look back, required me courage because it was something that I wasn't supposed to do to begin with. Nothing in my past or in my background, predicted that I could have an event planning company. But I'm just that person who knows how to see opportunities and seize them. There was an event, I don't know if you know the beer Guinness. They have a company in my, they are a big corporation. Yes. Yeah. So they had an event, they branded, their bottle. They had this big event coming up. And I just happened to be in a conversation where I knew all the things that were needed for the event to be successful. And I said, I'm sure I can figure out a way, to find girls, because they needed girls that would wear their, branding, material and make the event look, more prestigious. And I said, I didn't have any idea where I'm going to find the girls, but I said, I'm sure there is a way to make this happen. Just give me a chance. And they said, okay, this is the requirement. You need to have a registered business because we are a corporation. We need to do things. I ran away and then I went and registered a business out of the blue. And I started talking to all the girls that I would meet that I felt like, okay, this one seems dynamic. She looks good. She's smart. She's a student. I just started having conversations with strangers on the street. And sure enough, I had girls going to castings for the event. And that's how I landed my event planning business.
That's crazy.
So that was a big leap because I had no clue what I was doing, but I just knew I could do it.
You started before you were ready. That's
Exactly.
what I like to say. So you didn't wait until you had the event planning background, before you were educated in event planning, till you had all the right connections. You just got out there, and I call it being scrappy. You were just like, hey, if I can get my hat in the ring for this one opportunity, they don't know that you don't know the women right now, right? So you were like, yes. I'm sure I can get the women. And then you had to then deliver on your promise for you to be able to get that contract, and then for you to be able to continue that event planning. And I love that. It's a great story, and it just shows the courage it takes to do something that's unknown. You had no idea how that was going to turn out. So even if you delivered the women to them and you didn't get the contract, but then they said, but there's this other company we think you would work well with, and you got that contract, right? So we never know where life is going to take us. And then you have this successful event planning business. You decide, I'm being called for more. I have a purpose. I need to go to the United States because that's where I'm really going to fulfill my fullest potential. What does that move look like for you coming over here?
That move is really, it itself is just a moment where when I look back, I wonder what I was thinking. And I'm sure I wasn't thinking a lot, which is good sometimes. I just knew I was going. I didn't have all the answers. And my family, of course, was freaking out, saying, why would you go to the United States, right? My sister in Canada was more like, you should come here. I'll be around to support you. And it made sense, but I just didn't feel like it was the right move for me, and I could barely speak English even. It made 0 sense really for me to choose the United States. It made 0 sense. I had no family here. But I just kept saying, because again, I'm the last one. Everybody wants to protect me. Everybody wants to make sure that I'm safe. And also those kind of decisions that we are called to make, because the people around us trying to dissuade us from what we want to do are really well-meaning, right? They're coming from love. They're trying to protect. But it's really important to stand strong on what you know you want,
Yes.
and go after it. And this is really, really what I'm really big at, really reminding people that nobody knows how you feel about your dream, about your desire. You know, they hear the words you're saying, but they don't have the feeling you have. So it's really up to you to honor that feeling or honor what they are saying. I respect my brothers and sisters. I love them. And I knew where they were coming from, but I also knew where I was going. Yeah. So I just had to stand strong. That was really the first battle. I remember at some point, it was such a big conversation that I just had to tell them, listen, at this point, you will need to trust me on this. You will just have to trust me on this. I have no evidence that it's going to work out. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I just need you guys to trust me on this one.
So how did you choose which state to come to?
Oh my gosh, that's an interesting one. I just went on Google because I had my visa in December. And one thing I know about the state, it was like, okay, it's winter time. There's no winter in my country. So I knew one thing, I'm not sure I can handle the snow and all of that. So I went on Google and I checked the states where there is no snow in the US. And California was one of them. And I said, oh, there is Hollywood in California. How about we go there? That's really how I landed in LAX. So there was really, again, no real plan behind it, which is, again, one of those things that I just knew I didn't want to deal with the snow. That's all I knew. So I want, a place where I can at least know how to walk around because it's not going to be too confusing for me. Right. That's the only information that I had.
Yeah. You get a lot of sun in California. So yes, a lot of sun in California. So I know you get a lot of sun in Africa. So that works out perfect. So you came over to a state that was as similar as possible, right? That you could get and not have to worry about snow or driving in snow or navigating through snow. So you land in LA, and that took a lot of courage because, like you said, your family is spread out through some other countries. None of them are here in the United States, but you chose to come and you just looked it up on Google and found California. So when you get here, and how do you become a TV host? How do you start working with clients and empowering them coming from an event planning company that you had back in Africa? And now I'm assuming, were there some clients that knew some people in California or knew someone that you could connect with? Or did you just come here with 0 clients, 0 people on your list, that and you're just going to start from scratch?
I knew no one here, no referral, nothing. I was really coming to start my whole life from scratch. I had to learn the language. I had to meet the people. I had to figure out how the system even worked. I had no clue. I have never been to the US, so I had no clue of anything. So I had to learn everything from scratch. And, we're probably going to go back there to where my life even started in this country. But to just answer a question about how do I become a coach? So after, my time in the detention center, my first job, interestingly enough, was at LAX, the same airport where I almost got deported from. Interesting. And in less than a year, the reason why I even first of all got the job is because I speak French and it was a French airline. So they needed some French speakers to help passengers. That's where I was able to also learn English because everyone else around speaks English. And in less than a year, I became a manager, which was never seen before in the company. But because I just had no options, I just knew that first, my goal is not to have a career like that in the corporate world, but I need to have my feet on the ground. Right. So I worked as hard as I could when I was in the corporate world. I gave it my best, my all. And that's probably why the management rewarded me with that promotion. But again, I knew why I was here. That's why it's so important to be clear in your vision, to know exactly where you're going, because it's so easy to get distracted and get into the conversation of, you should be happy with what you have. And when I decided to quit my corporate job, again, I didn't have a business. I was learning how to become a coach, how to set up a business. But because I didn't have a client, I would say I didn't have a business, right? And I remember people, again, well-meaning people telling me, what are you doing? Why will you want to even quit? Nobody, you should be proud of yourself to be there. Nobody, people come here, live for years and never have the position that you have. Colleagues will tell me, what are you saying? I didn't even tell my family because I didn't want to deal with the pressure of, are you out of your mind? Quit your job to do what? To start your own business? What are you even saying?
Right.
So
They're like, you're making good money. What, you're learning English and you're working your way up the corporate ladder. Why would you want? But there's this pool that I just can't explain to anyone else. And you just know it. It's like the first time you become a mother. And then there's this drawl of unconditional love to this baby that you have, it's like that, right? There's this pool inside of you that's like, I'm meant for more. I'm meant for more. And it does take a lot of courage to take that leap. And tell us, how did you do it?
Yeah, it takes courage to disregard all the people around you who are trying to keep you the company. First of all, I went to my direct supervisor and told him a plan to leave. He said, when after listening to me, he said, you're not leaving, right? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? He said, no, you're not leaving. I don't care what you're saying. I heard you want to start your own business. I'm proud of that. But you're a manager. You can work your hours around, figure it out. End of the conversation. That was it. And I had to wait 3 more months to be like, you know what? I need to leave. So I sent an email directly to my HR because I knew that way there is really no going back from that. But during that process of people coming to give me their opinion, their feedback, I had my doubts too. Yeah. Because that's something that we have to always know how to deal with, which is one of the things that I really help clients with. What do you do with your own fears? That little voice in your head wondering, are you crazy? What are you doing? Look at what you have, where you're going. You have no evidence that it's going to work. What are you saying? What if it doesn't work? What if you lose everything? What if you end up on the street? You don't even have anywhere to go if you are not able to pay your rent or your bills. What are you even saying? And I had that conversation. I remember one day sitting in my previous apartment at the time and crying like a baby, asking, what is wrong with you, Christelle? Why can't you just be content with what you have right now? You have it good.
We've had the exact same conversation with each other. Let me just tell you, I have. And I've asked myself the question, why can't I be just content with where I'm at? So I'm assuming as an entrepreneur, you're not content where you're at and you continue to push and push.
Absolutely. And then at the end of those cries, I just said to myself, you know what? I don't know why I'm doing this, but I just know I have to do it. And I'm doing it. So when I decided to resign, my HR finally said, you know what, we are going to give you 3 months, leave of absence, go figure out your business and then come back. And that was in October 2019. So I was supposed to return to work January 2020. I still had no client after really working hard in the 3 months to make sure that at least I can replace my paycheck. It didn't happen. Okay. It didn't. So it made logical sense for me to just go back to my safety zone, which is my paycheck, make sure that at least my rent is paid, my bills are paid. But I just knew I didn't want to go back. Even though the company was great, I didn't hate my teammates, everything was great. But inside, I just knew I wasn't supposed to be there anymore. So I wrote that email with tears falling down, wondering if I'm crazy or I'm out of my mind. But I just told her, thank you, but I'm not coming back. And of course, everybody thought I was out of my mind until everything in the country shut down. Coronavirus hit not long after that, right?
Yeah.
All the airports were closed down anyways. So that's just, again, one example of sometimes life leads you places and you don't know the answers. And it really takes courage to brave your own fears, because I promise you, it was really scary to make those decisions along the way, especially when I cannot say, well, it didn't work out, I went to stay in my mom's basement. No, I didn't have that option. It was really either I make it or I lose it all. Yeah. So I had to manage my fear along the way. I had to process all the emotions that I was going through during the time where I didn't know what was happening, what was going to happen. But sure enough, the same week I confirmed that I'm not going back to my job, I landed my first coaching client, which for me was a universe just telling me you're on the right track. You're not out of your mind. It's going to happen, right? But that's just my journey. I feel like I'm always called to be on the edge to see what I'm really capable of. Because sometimes we don't know the power we have until we are at that place where we need to make a decision. And really, for me, courage is the ability to make those difficult decisions.
Mm-hmm.
When people hear courage, they sometimes really think of just act of bravery. But before that act, there is a decision that is being made. And making those difficult decisions is really challenging for a lot of people, because they expect on anyone else around them to tell them what to do. But they forget that at the end of the day, people can give you their perspective, which is great to have.
Yeah.
And you are the ultimate decision maker. And it really requires you courage to sometimes make a decision that goes against everything that everyone else is telling you, or goes against everything that makes logical sense.
Yeah.
Or that doesn't look like anything that anyone else is doing around you. And we work in the, internet, social media era, where everybody's sharing what they're doing. And it's really challenging for the people that I work for, the women that I have conversation with, my clients, to find their own path in the midst of all the things that are being bombarded on us on a daily basis. It really takes that relationship with yourself, that trust with yourself, and the courage to step up and say, I see what you're doing, I hear what you're saying, and this is what I feel like I should be doing. This is my way that I want to try. I want to give it a shot and see where it leads me.
Yeah. And it does. It takes usually to get to that point. It generally is, it's rare that one individual can hang on the edge like you talk about that, over and over and over again. There needs to be someone else aligned with them. And I know that you offer a complimentary 30-minute courage boost session. I know that you have worked with women and empowered them to make the decisions that they need to make, to have the courage that they need to make. But I think the key in this is to constantly stay there, because when we get too comfortable, or we are living the life that those around us want us to live, we're not being fulfilled to our fullest point. And when you're comfortable and you don't feel like you're expanding at all, and there isn't any fear, that's when you need to question yourself to say, why am I so comfortable right now? Why am I not afraid to do something? I feel like I'm not really expanding or growing. So I love that you say that, because it's so important for us to remember that courage is part of that making a decision. And if we're not making decisions that are hard sometimes, then we're not really growing and challenging ourselves to be the biggest and best version of ourselves we could be.
Absolutely, because we are called to make decisions every day.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to be a follower, right? It's so easy to just fall in line. It's so easy to just follow the path that everyone else has, made for you.
We know if you want change in the world, you need to be it.
Exactly.
Be it. Step forward and be it. Be the leader. So Christelle, it's been amazing for one. I mean, this is probably going to be everyone's favorite podcast for sure, because your stories are amazing. You're so confident in your own right. Tell us where the community can find you. Where do they find you? Is there a Facebook community or a website? What is the best way for them to connect with you?
The best way to connect really is if you want to take the conversation deeper. You mentioned the complimentary 30-minute session. I really love that, to help people see where they are and what is really holding them back. And if it's fear, I show them how to go through it and still show up, because it really what it is. You need to show up and keep showing up, even when you're afraid. So that's one way. The other way, I also have my website, Meet Christelle Biiga, where they can also see other ways to, work with me, especially as a speaker. And if you like social media, you can just DM me on Facebook or IG or LinkedIn. My name is the same everywhere, Christelle Biiga. I would love for you to just say hi, give your feedback, and maybe chat a little bit if you like.
Absolutely. Yes. Tell her you loved her story, y'all. Get out there and connect with her and tell her you love your story. For those of you watching on Facebook, all of these links are in the description for you. Those that are listening on the podcast right now, at your fingertips are all of those links that we just talked about. So you don't have to try and figure out how to spell her name and go find her. Just click on the link and you'll be able to be connected with her. Christelle, I'm so happy we got connected. and that Amy connected us and brought us together today so we could have this conversation. And I'm just honored to meet someone that has chosen to live their life in courage and has now taken this to the next level where you're empowering women to do the same.
Thank you so much.
Impressive.
Thank you for having me. It was really, really, really great to be here today. Thank you for all the viewers and the listeners. I hope this was a great conversation that they really enjoy. And I just know that if you're watching or you're listening, you have something unique. Just take a deep breath and go do it.
And you were meant to hear it from Christelle. So you guys remember that you were meant to hear it from her. And, we have to remember we're the only you that's ever been, right? We're the only you that's ever been and will ever be. So if we're the only us, that's it. This is just, there's going to be no other me. How I decide to step into courage in my business, in my relationships, in my life, it's up to me. No one's going to stand around and give you the permission. You must say yes, and you must be prepared to do that. So thank you so much, Christelle, for being here with us today. To all the listeners, thank you for being a subscriber and dedicated to our brand and to our listeners and to our interviewees. And I just want to tell all of you to have a wonderful rest of your week, and remember to be you and be strong. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, where you learned the tools to create a life by design. Remember, you are the only you there is, and you are the only you that will ever be. Be you and be strong, because you are brilliant, and the world needs you at your best. We cannot wait for you to join us again next time.